Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is Uni. This is the place for personal development, personal growth, and self improvement, and so we can learn with each other. Yes, and I have my guest speaker here with me, Gary Kennedy. Hi, Gary.
Hey there, Uni. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And hi, everyone. Before we go into the conversation, Gary Kennedy is a well-being coach, educator, author, member of International Coaching Federation, and he is also a member of Achologist as a master ecologist. So thank you very much for being here in my show, Gary.
I'm delighted that you've invited me. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure because I believe that you have so much value that you can share to the world. And you know what? I've been working with you for quite some time, especially in the personal development and development, and we learn with each other. We support each other. You know what I mean? And I'm curious, and it's interesting also about the last blog that you wrote. You
Hmm.
know, you wrote a lot of blog on your website. There's about perspective, about the change, and many things. And I'm really curious about all of them. But the thing that make me, I think I don't know, and the silence is something that I want to learn from you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what does that mean? I don't know. And related with the silence, and how does that actually important in our life?
Yeah, I mean, silence generally has become a rare commodity, I think.
Mm,
I, I'm actually finding it quite difficult doing this with you because my natural instinct is to uh, sit back, consider a question before giving an answer. And on a blog, on a video like this, silence isn't great, is it? If we just sat here in silence, then your audience will go, "What is going on there?" So,
mhm,
so I just want to acknowledge, actually, me speaking continually is really difficult for me because what I like to do is I like to be able to sit back, consider, listen once again in my own head to what's being said before I give any kind of response. Then now there are some people who that is more natural for than others. People who are introverted often like to be able to go away and consider before giving a response. People who are more extroverted like to be able to speak out their responses very quickly, uh, and that helps them to process. So there's slightly different ways of processing. However, going back to my original point, is that in the world today, we fill our lives with sound. I do it. So when I'm walking, I listen to something in my headphones. So I may be listening to a podcast or listening to music. Uh, when I'm at home with my wife, or maybe we're watching TV, you know, uh, we walk in the park, and here in China, in the park, there's often people playing music out loud, or there's piped music. We go out onto the streets and into our town centres, and there's videos playing all the time. There's sound, and we just fill our lives with something. And what we don't fill it with is silence. It's almost as if we're scared of what we might find when we enter that world,
mm,
because that allows us to begin to process, to look deeply into what is going on. While our minds are active, we cannot reflect.
Yeah.
It's in the sitting back and the silence that our minds begin to quiet, and then we can begin to look at ourselves and our situation. This is
Right.
why I think that people who practice yoga and I don't, or meditation and I do, but not as often as I would like to, uh, this is where they begin to silence their whole lives, their body, their mind, and they come away with insights that they would never have had before.
Mm.
This is a long introduction into why silence in a coaching perspective is important.
Well, this is why I asked the question, by the way. And I mean, I agree and I can relate with what you said, what you mentioned about the silence, because I personally see and feel how silence is actually powerful to help myself to process what I think,
Mhm.
what my thought, So it is really help for me to move forward, especially in my personal development journey. So, well, thank you very much for that. And do you have some kind of, well, interesting about processing with the silence? And this is, well, should I say this is very important because this is really help for me. It's really help myself to move forward, to grow as a person. Um, but is that every day we need to have a silence, or what kind of strategies as a person, you know, to practice about this silence, or I don't know what to do. Do you have any strategies to work on this silence for daily life?
So, yeah, outside of a coaching session,
Mhm.
um, allowing ourselves, I don't know, that's the wrong word, forcing ourselves into silence is a good place to start, especially if you're not used to it. So, like I said, there are some people who do meditation every day. They wake up and that's the first thing they do, or they pray and they pray silently, or whatever it is. That's a wonderful way to be able to connect with the self and with the wider world. For those of us who are not so good at that, I'm laughing because I'm remembering a book, and it was from years and years ago before I ever got into coaching. And the book said, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do 2 hours of prayer and meditation, and that's the way to start your day. And my jaw hit the ground, and I thought, there's no way I can possibly do that. Just the mere thought of it sent my head into spirals, because I knew that there's no way I could achieve that. But and so there was no strategy on how to reach that. It's just like, well, that's what you do. Just do it. But of course, we become overwhelmed when people just tell us to go, just do it. It might be great uh, for a pair of trainers to say just do it, or on a t-shirt, but actually in real life, with all of our the baggage that we bring to our own lives and with ourselves, we can't. So if you can do 2 hours of meditation, fantastic, you go for it. Start off with 30 seconds of quiet.
Mhm.
30 seconds. That's all you if you that's all you need to do. And you say, I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds. Cool. We've all got 30 seconds in our lives, no matter how busy we are. When we're walking from the office to the car, when we're walking home, when we're, and before we turn on the TV, you've got 30 seconds to spare. Use Time yourself, put a timer on so you don't go on. because goodness knows if you did 31 seconds, that would take up too much time. So time yourself to 30 seconds of silence, nothing else. And in that 30 seconds, notice what happens. Notice where your brain goes. To add to that, I would say be mindful. So that means don't clear your head because we can't. So think of nothing. Immediately our brain, I can't think of nothing. And we think about the dinner we're going to make. We think about the conversation we just had. We think about the television program we're going to watch. We're always thinking of so you
Mm.
can't think of nothing. But in that 30 seconds, look at your two fingers, put your thumb and your finger together and concentrate on the two fingers rubbing together. Notice what's happening. Notice the tension in the fingertips, the different feelings. And in that, as soon as you start doing that, you've lost focus on everything else
Yeah. Mhm.
because you're concentrating on something. Believe it or not, even in that 30 seconds of noticing the touch sensation, your mind will wander. But that's okay. That's normal. So as soon as
Right.
you notice, what am I having for dinner? Oh,
Mhm.
okay, I've just noticed that. Just come back. Don't tell yourself off. Just bring it back to that. And then over time, increase that 30 seconds, maybe to a minute, or maybe to 30 seconds 2 or 3 times a day. So have particular times in the day when you say, I'm going to do this. Before I have my meal, I'm going to have 30 seconds of quiet. So you link the new habit to an old habit. Everybody eats. So why not link the habit of eating to the habit of silence?
Mm.
If you have
Right.
the habit of brushing your teeth, most people do, have 30 seconds of silence before you brush your teeth. So, I mean, we're going off topic slightly in that we're habit stacking here. But if you want to introduce silence, that's a good way of doing it.
Right. Okay. It's interesting about that. Before we doing something, just being silent for 30 seconds. So I'm curious now, what is that actually beneficial by doing that every 30 seconds before we do something? Well, maybe not every second, but every 30 seconds, every time you want to do something. But what does that specific benefit from having the silent for our life, especially?
Yeah, it helps because we're so active, our minds are moving all the time. It just slows us down. It enables us to have that space to breathe. So it helps us to become aware of even ourselves. So a lot of us walk around with tension in our lives.
Yeah.
We're the doctors are saying that people are coming to them and the biggest complaint is they're exhausted. And when the doctor, I remember going to the doctor myself and saying, I'm so tired, doctor, all the time. And this was again some years ago. And the doctor said, they did all the tests. They go, there's nothing wrong with you. And they said, almost every patient who's coming to me now is telling me the same. The doctor said, I've got nothing for you. There's nothing wrong with you. The doctor couldn't help me. The doctor didn't identify what it was. But the thing is, we're tense. We're carrying stress. And this is because it, it's not in our DNA to be constantly doing. Our evolutionary, we're in a place now where our bodies are not ready for this constant feeding of information 24 hours a day, listening to the news, or working from day to night. we're not developed to be doing that. Our bodies cannot cope with that. And so allowing ourselves uh, time to reconnect enables us to slow down. It enables us to notice what's going on our body. So as we extend that silence from the 30 seconds to maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even half an hour, or whatever it is that we uh, can do, we can then begin to notice the tension that's within us. Yes, for some of us, we will find the tension knotted in our stomach, or we will find the tension in our shoulders because we walk around hunched, and or we're not breathing properly. We have shallow breaths, and I notice that often in my uh, in my coaching sessions. I ask a question, and someone will go, "Oh," and you can see and hear the tension there. And I will often reflect back about what I'm seeing and hearing. And they go, yeah, it's not like I'm just releasing something there. But we all walk around with that tension. Some of it's, we tense our legs or our fists. You see people were out walking like this. Or when they talk to you, they make fists. It takes energy.
Yeah.
And so as we can begin to notice that, we can begin to relax. We notice the tension in our arms, and we can actually allow ourselves to let that go. And this gives us more energy. So it's in a sense, the silence is not an end in itself. It's what it allows us to do and to notice. And then from that noticing, we can then go on to develop strategies about what we notice. So yeah, the silence is the silence. But what comes from that is vital.
Right. I'm not curious about the silent because as I see, um, you know, a lot of distraction in our lives. And this is what I know people around me, especially for my family member or my own kid. If they don't have anything to do, they're stressed. What am I going to do now? Where's the phone? Where's the thing?
Yeah.
And where's the thing? And where's the thing? And right after that, as actually it become more stress because they use that kind of distraction instead of silence. And what I notice from the kid, I don't want to blame many kids, but this is what I see. They become uncreative, not even creative, because focusing on this kind of distraction instead of silent, because silent is also create the kind of creativity beside of it is healthy for our mental well-being and our physical uh, health too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can see that. So how do you see? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what you've just said is really important, Uni. And it's not about blame at all. It's not about blaming anybody, or adults or kids. Our bodies are crave uh, certain chemicals, and the inputs that we're getting from our mobile phones, from the computers, uh, they trigger certain chemicals, and they're the same chemicals that are triggered when people take drugs, when people take heroin. And it's so when we get likes on our social media, when we're interacting on screen, we're getting that same high that we're getting as if we were taking heroin. And we know that people who take heroin get addicted. This is where, and we are addicted to our screens. I've noticed with myself. I reach out to my phone when it goes quiet. It's not a good sign. And like you say, it's the boredom that creates the creativity. And we've lost that, which is why, and this is where it links to our coaching. Because when we go silent in our coaching, it allows the space for creativity. We ask a question, and our kid may give us a quick answer, or our client may give us a quick answer. That's not the answer we're looking for, because that's the answer that's immediately available. It's easy. We're not looking for easy answers. We're looking for useful answers. We're looking for answers that are going to help us to develop. And so when we take away screen time from our kids, and that's television, computer, or phones, we are giving them the opportunity to find their own ways of entertaining themselves, to get that creativity for themselves. Now, what I'm not saying, and it's really important that I'm not saying, is that we take away completely these tools that are available to us through computers or through our phone, because there are apps there that can help with our creativity that we can interact with. And so I'm not a troglodyte. I don't want to burn to burn all of these things. That's not what I'm saying at all. But we do need the space, and by giving the space, it enables our brains to form new ways of being, to come up with new answers, to be different, to think outside of the box, and that silence enables that. And so when a client says to me, "That's the answer," oh, okay, that's good. And then, so what else might be the case? And that's when we start digging. And it's a simple question: what else? And we can keep on asking that question until the person becomes silent. Because if they keep on giving quick answers, it means they're not thinking about it. They're the answers that they're just giving because they've heard them before and before and before.
Yeah.
And it's when they go silent, that's when you know that they're digging deeper.
How actually, important the silence is. Besides of in daily life, it's also very useful in coaching too. As you know, as a practitioner, we are,
Oh gosh, yes. When I was doing part of my practicum, my supervisor was going through a recording with me, and she said, "Oh, why did you ask? What made you ask that question?" And I said, and she said, "What else could you have said?" I said, "I don't know. Tell me." And she said, "No, you tell me. What else could you have said?" I said, "I want you to tell me. Just give me the answer." And she sat back. She said, "I don't know the answer. Let's think together." And she forced me, and I hated it. But it made me dig deeper. It made me look at alternatives. So I'm not saying that it's going to be comfortable doing that with
yeah,
our clients, but it's useful.
indeed.
It's the best thing we can do for them. And it would be easy. It would have been easy for my supervisor to have said to me, "Oh, you could do this. You could do this." I would have done that. Here's an example of what I did in that case. Oh, great! Now I know everything my supervisor could then demonstrate how clever she is, how wise she is. But that's not the point of coaching. She's not there to tell me how wise she is. She's there to draw from me. And so when I give you answers you need, if you're my client and I'm saying, oh, do this, this, and this, well, who's the clever one? It's me. And you can then come bow down to me, and you can come back to me in the next session and say, oh, I've got another problem, Gary. Tell me what to do now. Give me your wisdom. Well, how's that helping you develop?
Nothing. It become dependent on someone else. It become
Yeah,
dependent on the practitioner, I think.
yeah, absolutely. And so what we're doing, as well as in the moment, we're getting the person to think, we're helping them to realize that they have internal resources which they can tap into. So when they leave my session, they've got a whole 7 days when they're going to come across other problems. And they can go, oh, yeah, I figured something through before. I can do it again now. I know what I need to do. I can just ask these questions of myself. What are my strengths? What have I done before that's helped me? Who are the people around me who I can uh, who are resourceful, who can help me with this particular thing. So we've got lots of ways then for ourselves to go, yeah, I've got this. I don't need Gary for that anymore.
Mm,
That's great. That's what I wanted to see.
yeah. And what about the I don't know part? As a leader, I mean, I love the block that you've just said. Instead of answer, I don't know, and why don't you use I don't know? Let's find out, because this is happen in our lives, especially well, I don't want to say anything, but in my experience, in my relationship, with my partner, oftentimes, I don't know. This is kind of experience, in the relationship, or I don't know. Instead of including, let's find out. It's just I don't know,
Yes.
and gone.
Ah,
So it's kind of, oh gosh, what do you see from here? Because this is interesting part. Let's find out. It's something that we, as a person, yeah, let's find out what it is. It's curiosity in there.
yeah. So if we use the phrase "I don't know" to fob somebody off, just to push them away, I don't know. Go and figure it out yourself. No, that's not what we're looking for at all. So in the coaching relationship or in a personal relationship like you've just described, we're looking to work together. So yeah, I don't know. Well, what could be the case? Well, let's work this thing through. What I what I what I don't want to do as a coach is immediately give an answer. So yeah, I don't know. So Mike, I don't know. What do you think? What could be? And if they really don't know, so okay, so let's brainstorm this. Let's think of what we could be. And and so I fairly recently I had this with a client, and it was a real impasse. The, he uh, he had either he had two answers, and they were two extremes. One was here, one was here. And I said, well, so is, I wonder whether there's anything in between here that could be. I mean, he was just stuck. He couldn't even get his head around that there could be a third way or a fourth way. And so he said, what you tell me. And eventually I said, well, And I gave a deliberately outrageous suggestion that there's no way that he was going to take that up. But the reason for me doing that was to say there is another way. It may not be a viable way, but there is another way. I said, so you give me an outrageous suggestion. And he gave an outrageous suggestion, and then I gave another one. And eventually he said, well, I could ask the other person what they think. I said, is that a viable one? He said, yeah. But up until that point, it was either I tell them what to do or I walk away. He was of a mindset where that they were the only two things. And sometimes we get blocks like this. I mean, and it may seem obvious to the coach what the answer is. You may think, well, come on, there's loads, but to the person who's in front of us, it's not.
Yeah.
And we have to hold that space. And when I say hold space, I mean enter into their world and go, okay, yeah, you can only see two things here. So let me come into that with you. Let me empathize that we've only got these two things to work with. Let's now see what we do with that. Let's be creative together. And so what you were saying is, yeah, I don't know. Let's work together. And so I think what you're saying, Uni, is absolutely correct.
Well, that was interesting one, Gary. So I think I don't know, and uncertainty actually is the greatest ally in our life, right? Especially when you're practicing the silent to find out what is actually the answer. By you mentioned about having the growth mindset or careers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're certain about something, then where's the room for movement? Where's the room for learning? As soon as you become uncertain, I might be wrong. There might be another way. Well, hey, now we can explore. Now there's a chance for moving forward. Now there's a chance for growth. But if you're absolutely certain this is the only way, okay, what can I do? Yeah, that's it. We're finished. That's the end of the conversation.
Right. Okay. So, okay, last one then. By understanding the uncertainty and the importance of silence, would you like to share your a little message for everyone who's watching our conversation today? What is the message that you would like to share to people out there around the world?
You've thrown this one at me. I'm not sure that I have any aphorisms. I think there are always possibilities beyond those that you can immediately think of. The phrase "nothing is impossible," I think, is nice and succinct. It doesn't mean that you can fly by flapping your arms, but it means that there is a way to do something. There's always a way through. I cannot flap my wings and get to Turkey, but I can jump on a plane.
Yeah. Which means there's always an opportunity out there, and there will always something out there if you're willing to find out what it is.
Part of it's to do with being willing, absolutely.
Mhm.
Uh, this is for longer conversations, I think, Uni, but also partly is to do with motivation and what we're aiming for. So all of these things that you can take in isolation, but actually they only work all together. So you have to really want something. It has to mean something to you. And if both of those things are true, then there will be a way. So if I say, I want to go to the moon, is there a way for me to go to the moon? Well, you know what? No, there isn't, because, well, if I lived if I lived till I was 200 years old, well, maybe there's a way, because then I would have to get all the skills that were necessary. I'd have to do all the learning. So given time, yeah, but I don't have that time. In all likelihood, you know, within 30 years or 40 years, I'm going to be dead. So I don't have enough time to be able to do it. It's an unrealistic expectation. So we, we have time and space to contend with. I will not be Prime Minister of the UK. Is it possible? Well, it is, but I have no inclination to do that. I don't care about being president. No, it's not possible. But if I really cared about it, if I involved myself in politics, I went back to the UK and started doing things, and yeah, is it going to happen overnight? No. So there's the time limit and the space to do that.
And how do you help the clients with a fixed mindset? How can you guide and how long? It's interesting because I think it's different, especially the fixed mindset need to build. Uh, Personal growth, I mean, the growth mindset need to build. It's a process.
Yeah, I think if people have got a real fixed mindset, it's quite difficult to change. But sometimes moving away from them, to disassociate, to look at something out as if it wasn't them they were talking about, as if they were talking about somebody else. And so that there are techniques that can be used. So questions like, if you were talking to your best friend, what might you say to them? And so that way you're moving away from them and focusing on them and projecting out to somewhere else. So they're no longer stuck kind of inside with their own problem. It's somebody else's problem. Um, I came across an interesting idea, and I'm afraid I can't remember exactly uh, who who was talking about this. And what they did was they drew a stick figure uh, the of the person who was in that situation. So let me try and think. Let's say they were having problems with golfing, and the problem was the negative thoughts about how they were playing golf, and they just couldn't think outside of that. So okay, so let's draw a golfer here, and they drew the golfer with the golf club. So look at this person here, and they're swinging the club. What might they be thinking? And the person said, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "But come on, what they're just about to swing the club here. What could be going on for them?" Well, they could be thinking this, and they could be thinking that, and they could be, and suddenly talking about something that's not real allows them to relax and to get insight into themselves. Um, Alec Wells, I don't know whether who's a member of Ecology, he talks about, what would a 10-year-old say, or what would your 10-year-old self say about this situation? And again, so it's just that dissociating with the present and moving to somewhere else. In a sense, all I'm doing is playing with words, because we only have the present. We only have the here and now. So the 10-year-old self is still us. The stick figure, the thoughts are still here. They're not in the stick figure. The stick figure isn't thinking anything. It's me coming up with those ideas here and now. I want to go back a little bit, Uni, to what you were saying about children, because this is, I think, important for helping children to develop and grow to being creative adults. I remember when I was growing up being incredibly creative. Nothing was impossible. A cardboard box would be um, a rocket or a train, and it could change like that in seconds. It could transform into a ship one moment and a car the next. As adults looking in, I also remember being told, "Don't be so silly. Don't you? You can't do that. That's impossible. No, people can't reach the moon. People can't do that." And as soon as we say that to a child, we begin to stop them. We stop that creativity. We tell them that things are not possible. And when we tell them that, they learn that things are not possible.
Yeah.
And as we grow up, we don't realize that we carry that with us. And so possibilities become smaller and smaller and smaller. And this is the reason why.
Yeah.
And so with children, the great thing to do is to play with those possibilities. So, God, and what else? Oh, they're on the moon. What's going on now? Oh, there's a dragon. Yeah, oh, yeah. And how can you fight the dragon? And you go, with a fork. Okay, you've got the fork. What's the fork? But an adult goes, you can't fight a dragon with a fork. You can't do that, because the adult knows better.
Yeah.
And what we're doing as coaches, we want to get rid of those boundaries that we've created for ourselves. It's not the child's fault that their
Yeah.
creativity has been stifled. And so when the client comes to us with all of those beliefs, they've learned those beliefs from somewhere,
Yeah.
and we can help to deconstruct them.
Mm.
And we do that with our questioning, with our belief that there are possibilities, with our belief that the client has the answers already. This is to do with the coaching mindset. Our belief that the client has the resources that they already need.
Yeah.
If you believe that the client doesn't have them, then as a coach, you will give them the answers and you will stifle them.
Indeed. Right. Wow. So powerful. Um, it's about the mindset, and dig deeper about where did you get this habit and stuff. And I love what you're saying about this is what we do as a coach to ask them question instead of giving the answer.
Oh
This is
gosh,
so
yes.
powerful. Yeah. And going back to the silent and I don't know, Gary, is it possible to embrace the uncertainty and silence um, together can lead into balanced well-being? Because I don't know and silent uncertainty sometimes is giving you something to grow.
Yeah. That's a great question. We like to have certainty in our lives because it
Yeah,
gives us stability. So as long as the world is certain, we can operate in it. Um, one of the wonderful things I love, I don't understand it at all, but I believe it. In physics, they tell me that at any stage, this chair that I'm sitting on could just disappear because all the molecules are constantly moving. And because they're constantly moving, it means that they could move at a particular rate that at the chair could just collapse. So that's uncertain. That every time I sit down, the chair may not hold me, but I have to operate in a world where this chair that I'm sitting on is going to hold me. So I have to believe that. So lots of those beliefs about certainty are really useful. There are some beliefs about certainty which are not useful. So I am not certain that I'm going to be that my wife will be alive tomorrow. I'm hopeful but at some stage she's going to die. If my whole world depended on her being alive and she dies, then what? What does that mean? Does it mean that I can no longer function?
right.
If my whole life depends on me having a job tomorrow and I lose my job, then what? If I cannot think outside of that, what happens to me? The world is an uncertain place, and holding on to the fact, believing that the world is uncertain is actually quite a useful thing because it means that I have to develop a mindset which is flexible. That there are lots of things that I cannot know for sure. And that's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay. There's lots of things in the world. We had a COVID, we had a pandemic
yeah.
from 2020 to 2023. And suddenly what everybody thought was true and was going to go on forever no longer was true.
Yeah,
Lots of people didn't cope with that very well because they had a fixed mindset about how the world had to be. But it didn't have to be that way.
yeah. Well,
The people who did the best were the people who were flexible in how they were thinking about life. Those people who adapted to the new reality. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't hard. And
yeah,
for some people, life was harder than for others. Absolutely, that is the case. So I'm not pretending that's not true.
yeah,
But there were ways of adapting in no matter what the circumstances were that were healthier than other ways. So for those people who, for example, resorted to drinking, that wasn't a healthy way of adapting.
yeah,
It may have been their own, it may have been their only way that they knew how. So I'm not blaming them. I don't want this to be a case that I don't think that I'm not empathetic towards their situation.
yeah,
However, it wasn't necessarily the best way, and they may not have had the resources around them to help to think things through because they had a particular mindset.
yeah, yeah,
And And this is really important for me to state, is that I do not blame people for having fixed mindsets. This is not a blame game, ever. It's never about blame, because people have a reason for the way they think. There's always a good reason.
Yeah.
So my job is not to point the finger, but and my
Yeah.
job is just to explain.
Right.
And so becoming more flexible in how we think about the world and how we think about ourselves, and all of our cognitive distortions,
Ooh, yeah.
then that helps us to be flexible in the I don't knows, the silences. I go, how can I think this through rather than jumping to the first answer? So we're going back now, we're circling back to what's the answer to this? The answer is to drink. The answer is to eat more. The answer is to, I don't know, gamble. The answer is to become violent. Ah, okay, that all those are possibilities. Of course, they're possibilities. They're the first, maybe they're even the first answers that come to mind. Are they the best answers, or is there something more? What else? Silence. What else? Come on, let's be creative. Let's play with this idea.
Yeah.
Do I know the answers for everybody? No, of course I don't. But I do believe that everybody has the answer if we can draw that out of them. The person who knows you, Uni, the best is you.
Yeah.
You've lived your life with you. You know what all your strengths are. Even if you might not be able to identify them immediately, I can help you identify them with the right questions. You
Yeah.
know the people around you. You know who you can draw upon. You know who you can rely upon. You know the work that you've done, the jobs that you've done. You know what you've achieved. So I can help you work through that. But I don't know it. As a coach, I have no idea what you know.
Wow. Well, I can say it's wow. That's a lot of um, insightful part in this case, and it is getting warm, by the way. But thank you so much for your insight, Gary, for this time. I might going, have another conversation next time with different topic, because there's ooh interesting. It's curious. I want to know about this thing. I want to know about this thing. Okay, it's um how important it is the silent and uncertainty. It's actually the greatest ally in our life. This is so insightful for me personally, and I hope people who's watching this video in for our conversation, they get the value from this conversation. So thank you very much for your insight, and thank you for sharing, Gary. Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you for inviting me. I've really
It's a
enjoyed the
pleasure.
conversation, and I hope it's come across that I'm surprised myself maybe how passionate I am about this and
Of
about what I
course,
do.
it's oh gosh, I knew it. I knew that. All right, there's a lot of topic that curious about, but yes, for all of you guys who's watching this video, thank you very much. You know what? That Gary has a lot of value that he can share to the world. So thank you very much for being here, Gary, and bye.
All right.